this. It is a new Insta360 360 module, like an actual new Insta360 360 mod. And the reason I make kind of a big deal of this is because in general, we've kind of been using the same Insta360 sensors and lenses on everything from the 1R to the RS to the Sphere, and then all the X and X2 cameras. But this is an all new Insta360 360 mod, and it is a big update. When I say big, I mean it's probably pretty obvious what I mean. Look at the size of this thing. It is much bigger, and it's bigger because it's no longer using tiny little sensors. This has a full 1-inch sensor on each side here with a Leica designed lens sitting on both sides. And what you get out of that bigger sensor and the bigger lenses is a whole bunch of things. You know, we're looking at better low light performance, better dynamic range, and my favorite thing, which really surprised me, I didn't even notice it until just today. I don't know how much time you've spent shooting or editing 360 footage, but if you're like me and you're not the most careful with your gear, one of the things that comes up again and again is things like smudges, water droplets, scratches, dust, all that kind of stuff. Once it gets on the lens, it becomes very obvious. And that's because it's a small sensor, and so small things cover a lot of the sensor. And because the camera does so much work to stabilize the footage, the thing that you actually end up noticing is that smudge or that scratch or that water droplet smearing all over the place, even though the footage is still rock solid. Whereas once you get into a larger sensor territory, that same size scratch, that same size smudge is going to become much less apparent. And so what that means is in all of the testing I've done so far, regardless of the resolution difference or the dynamic range or anything like that, in general, the shots out of this 1-inch camera are just looking cleaner, like literally cleaner. In terms of resolution, we've gone up from 5.7K up to 6K, which means when you're cropping in a little bit tighter, you're just gonna get a little bit nicer of an image. Now, I will say this is absolutely not an in-depth review of the new 1-inch sensor. I need a lot more time and a lot more testing in order to do that. So over the next few weeks, I'm gonna be using it a lot more, learning a lot more about like when it works great, when it doesn't work so great, who it's gonna benefit the most, and all that kind of stuff. But for now, this is just your first look.
Hey Josh. Basically, so it'll drop down, and then we kind of loop up and around and come back down here, up again.
Recently, my studio mate and good friend Josh asked if I would come out with him on a little mountain bike shoot because he's working on this documentary that I'll definitely be telling you about soon. But he asked if I could come out and help get these cable cam shots for him. And I was like, well, I'm testing out this new Insta360 camera. What a perfect opportunity. No! Even though this cable cam technically can hold 3.3 pounds, which is enough to hold this FX3 14mm. The problem actually comes with having to try and track your subject. So for this shot, we're gonna have them come down this here and then up, and it's gonna turn around here, it's gonna go down there, and then there's another banking turn. And without a gimbal, which would make it too heavy, there's no way for me to set the FX3 to actually keep them in the frame. Whereas with the 360 cam, I just need to keep the camera going like roughly close to them on their bikes. And then in post, I can actually just track them in the software, and as the camera flies through, it's gonna like pan left and right as they zigzag through this trail, and I think it's gonna look really cool. I have been wrong before. I have to climb a tree. The shoot ended up going really quite well, and even though I had some of the camera settings set wrong and we kept sending Peter through the trail over and over because I wanted to nail the timing of the camera on the cable, It was really cool seeing that even when I got it wrong, I could just set the keyframes on the Insta360 differently and end up with a completely different shot, sometimes chasing, sometimes leading, sometimes side by side. And this really is such a huge benefit over trying to do this kind of shot with like an action camera or a drone, because I have so much creative freedom in post.
I'm gonna hit record on this.
We also decided to try and get one shot with the FX3 on the cable.
No!
It was not worth it. One of the things that Insta360 has been really proud of when it comes to this camera, and they've been talking to me a lot about it, is the much improved low light performance. And so what that means is as the lights go down, you can actually keep shooting. And this is where small sensors and 360 cameras in particular have always struggled. So now, even with only a marginal increase in resolution, what that means is each pixel is that much larger, gathering that much more light, giving you that much better of an image at night, or dusk, or dawn, or indoors, or in a cloudy day, or under in the forest. Basically, anything that isn't broad daylight can now actually stand a chance at looking as good as these cameras can look. I think if you are a content creator who's in the like action sports field, like snowboarding, skateboarding, one-wheeling, definitely, 360 cameras are invaluable. They are the go-to tool for self-filming. So if you're a moto vlogger or a travel vlogger, if you're a photographer or a videographer who's trying to get really cool, interesting, high-quality, behind-the-scenes content, this is exactly the kind of tool that's gonna help you out with that. You can just mount it on your camera so you can show like, this is what I was doing, these were my settings, and this is what I was filming, all while never having to think about where you are positioning that camera. You can just focus on your actual shot, like the actual work you're doing. At their core, what I love about 360 cameras is that they make you try new things because they capture video, they capture content, photos in a completely different way than any other camera does. And so you can move them in new ways. You can imagine just how you might want that movement to take place. You can attach them to a cable camera and track them any which way. All of that to say, I'm excited to have this new tool be part of my toolkit because I love 360 cameras, and this one does it with more resolution, more dynamic range. It can do it in lower light, and all of my scratches and smudges and dust from the studio here are not gonna be the same big deal that they once were on the older models. Anyways, I'm really excited to keep playing with this over the next couple days, weeks, months. So this is the new go-to, and this is me saying goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you hope to be hopeful in one day. I hope you're good. I hope you're good. Thanks for watching. My name's Jesse. That's Dave behind the camera. Goodbye.